today's episode, we are going to go from this to this. Stick around and see how I do it. Alright, now that the engine is done, we're going to move back onto the frame. I'm going to skip over the chain and the wheels for now. I'll get back to the wheels. I need them after this is done anyways, both those things. But I wanted to start working on the frame because there's quite a bit of work required here. Nothing, like there's some inaccuracies around the frame. So anyways, what we're going to be working on, as indicated in the beginning there, is, step 6 and probably... step 5, step 6. That's kind of what my plan is. We'll see how far into that we get. I guess you've already seen the finished product for this week's episode. But yeah, I need to do a bit of correction on the frame. There's a few things that are not terribly accurate on it, and they're minor really, but I just something I want to work on and get right. So I guess first and foremost, there we go, is there's no welds, visible welds on this frame, so I'm going to do all the welds on it. They're quite prominent on the real bike. And they're kind of rough, so that makes them even more prominent. So I'm gonna go through and replicate welds on everything around it. There's, like you see here, we have this triangular gusset right there. There should be one here as well, filling up that corner and strengthening that part of the frame. So I'm gonna add that both sides. This I thought was kind of odd. This is the rear master cylinder. So this tab here lines up with this tab on the frame, right? And then, as you can see, it goes there. So this little bracket that sticks down, like the bolts up here, and then there's that bracket that goes down and touches the frame. That's part of the frame. So it should be the same color as the frame. So I don't know. I'll probably cut it off of here and attach it to the frame and then mount this. I don't know why they did it this way, but that's the way it's done. So we will correct that. They also did the similar thing here on the top of the rear shocks, right? Like that plate, you can see that it sticks out there. That plate's part of the frame, right? It's the inside of the frame here, and they've got it, so it keys in there pretty well. But again, it's the same color as the frame, so I might cut those off and put them on the frame as well. So there was that, and then the last sort of consideration they did was these little pieces. These are the caps that they use to cover the swing arm, the mounting screws for the swing arm. And what this is in real life is the part that sort of sticks out there, the depth of this thing. That's part of the frame, again. So they should be frame color. And then what it is, it's like a tube that's welded in the frame that holds the swing arm axle. And this has got a split in it. And then there's a bolt that pinches it to capture the swing arm axle. And then these are just little tin caps that go on that cover. It's a hollow axle for the swing arm. So those are just tin caps that cap it off. Right? They just push on. So that's what that is. So I'm probably, again, going to modify this all and mount these before I paint everything, because I want them the same color as the frame, and I don't want them to be, like, there shouldn't be, you know, that line right there. Although that might be kind of hard to get rid of. But anyways, that's kind of the way I'm going, is I'm going to see what I might actually leave these. Just got to remember to paint them same color as the frame and then glue them on. I think they'd look fine, but the instructions tell you to paint these silver in their entirety, which isn't right. And the other last thing I want to do is I want to make it so sorry, I'll get this zoom back out a little bit. So the swing arm will slip in from behind without having to sort of jockey it around so much. The real bike, that's the way it mounts. It just slides in. It doesn't have to be manipulated to get in. There's bosses on the inside of the frame that stick out, you know, and that's part of that tube I was just talking about. It's all the same piece. It comes all the way out so that the swing arm, this part of the swing arm is narrower than the frame, so it just can slide right in. And you shove the swing arm axle in and clamp it down. So that's the way it all works in real life. So I want to replicate that, not because that's the way the real bike is, but I want the swing arm, I want to be able to put the swing arm in after I've got the engine mounted. And this way you can't really do that, because you gotta get it all the way, get it all the way past here and then come back into mounting position. If that makes sense, if I explained that right. Maybe from the upside down shows it better, right? Like, to get it in, I have to go all the way past and then come in. And if the engine's in the way, you can't do that. So, and mainly, I don't want this flopping around while I'm trying to put the engine in. I don't want the chain on there or anything like that. I want to be able to put the engine in, then I can put the chain on, then I can put this on. So that would be the order of assembly. So that's what I'm going to work on. The swing arm's the easy one. You just got to cut this down and add some lugs to the inside. And it shouldn't be a big deal. I think the bulk of the work is going to be correcting the little issues here, getting some gussets put in, those tabs. This, I'm still undecided. Like, I've seen that thing they put on the frame. This little guy here goes here. You know, I've seen pictures of it on the bike in the museum. I still don't know what the hell it is. Like, if it's some stripped down voltage regulator. It doesn't look like it, though. It doesn't look like it's got enough electronics on it to be a voltage regulator, because you'd need the, you know, the diode trio and then the regulator itself. So, anyways, I don't know. Or I just wing it, or just wire the battery there and just fake it. Whatever. It's not like it's got to run at the end of the day. So, anyways, that's what I'm going to be working on. Get this all cleaned up. Do some welds on it, which will be interesting. Oh, the other thing I noticed, and I can't verify this, but there's pictures of the actual bike is in the museum. It was raced after this race and for a little bit, but so who knows what had happened to it in the years since then, but it's unrestored in the museum. It looks like it doesn't have this back hoop, but it's really hard to tell. There's a couple pictures where you can see, again, this isn't quite accurate. On the real frames, this main tubes, these two top main tubes, you know, they're larger diameter. They terminate just behind the shock mount at an angle, just behind it, like about right there. They're cut off. All the bikes are like this, the Sport and the Super Sport, in the GT. And then this rear hoop is a smaller tube that slips inside that tube. So there really should be a step down right here to a smaller diameter tube. But I think on the race bike they just cut this off. And because the seat's right here, like all that's back here is the rear fiberglass cowl for the seat, but not the seat itself. It's the seat, the rider is supported by this part here. So I think they just cut it off on the race bike, but I can't find any pictures that showed any of the bodywork removed, so got hard to verify that. So anyways, that's the plan. So I will be back in a bit. I'm gonna go start doing a bit of the rough work, clean this up, get it prepped to do the welds, and then I'll check back in and talk about how I'm going to do the welds on this and show you that. So anyways, I will see you in a bit. Quick check-in to show you what I've been working on. It doesn't look much different than the last time we looked at it. I think you've seen it like this before as well too, with the seat and the tank on there. Continuing just test fitting, test fit. That's, one of the key parts of building one of these kits, really. But one thing I've been doing is just checking my references and, seeing what I need to correct and then deciding if I want to make corrections. So, I think we talked about a few of those. I just cut some brackets off. I'll show you those in a sec. The other big one I needed to figure out was the coil situation, which I think I've talked about in an earlier episode. They give you 3 coils. This has 4 spark plugs. It should have 4 coils. I've never seen 2 wires coming off the same coil, like the same terminal on a coil. You can get coils that have 2 terminals on them. That's not what they give you in the kit. Anyways, I found some pictures that show the original bike with a coil on each side. So they supply, let's just pull the instructions out. They just supply the 2 coils in the middle under the tank, and then there should be the other 2 coils are down on the side of on the down tubes here. They got 1. There should be 2. Should be 1 on each side, which makes sense. So, anyways, I've made the mounting point for it on the other side on the frame. I got to scratch build a 4th coil. They give you 2 different style of coils. I'll end up putting the 2 that are the same down here because they're the ones that are more visible. And then I'll just scratch build a 4th coil to go up here where you're really not going to see it because the tank's going to be bolted on. So that'll be fine. But I want it there. So yeah, I found pictures of that. And I also found pictures of let's just get some of this off of here. So it's just sitting there, obviously, and then the back of the bike, the fender mounting is to the back of the seat, which is kind of nice because it holds all this. Come on, focus. Thank you. It holds everything together quite nicely. The rubber piece is pinned onto the seat here, onto the cowl. I don't really like the way they've done this. Come on, focus, fucking thing. Because really this raised bit here of the rubber slips over the actual cowl in real life, but here they got it, flat, so that's where it terminates. So you'll have that, a bit of a lip that's supposed to be where it's overlapping, but it doesn't. So it's going to be super critical to get these joined super tight so that it looks like it's over top of it. So that's, I'm not super keen on the way they did that. But anyways, it'll all work out. It'll be nice to actually build this as one piece and then I'll slip it on. But here's the other thing that I did was I cut the back of the frame off. I cut the hoop off the back. I think I was talking about that earlier. I wasn't quite sure. I found a better picture of it, and indeed this bike does not have this rear piece of the frame. So these frames were modified 750 GT frames. And like I said before, there was a step down here anyways. The tube became smaller at the back. So they just omitted it when they built the race bikes. So that's gone. So that will lose this one mounting point for the rear cowl, right? Because it mounted here. So, but the frame horns, these two here, still sit on the plastic or on the resin. So it still is supported, but with this all, if I get this assembled like it is here, they'll sit there. And then plus I'm going to the other thing that's missing on this is the mounting tabs down here for the fender. There should be a tab that comes down off the bottom of this cross member that bolts the fender on. So, and I can do that. That's fairly easy to do. So that's one of the things I'm going to still do is put that mount there, and then that will support everything just fine. It'll be plenty strong. There's really nothing there, so it's not like it needs a bunch of support. So yeah, that's gone. What else did I do? I think I talked about that. I got these little that tab mounted on there. I got it soldered on now. That one, cut it off of the brake master cylinder, soldered it to the frame there. These inside pieces for the rear shock mounts, I cut them off the shocks and soldered them in there. And then I also added this connector piece right here. I don't know if that's there in real life. Most bikes do have, a piece that looks like that on it. That just gives it a bit of support right under the driver, where the rider sits. So I added that just to add a little bit of support to the frame. I don't think it would have spread over time, but it'll help with mitigate any of that. So that's all done. And the last thing I did, I think I talked about, I was going to do is I added these gussets here in the frame. And as you can see, I've got most everything sanded out and cleaned up. Just about ready for paint. Not quite. I'm going to do a bit of a dry run assembly of most of the stuff that goes in the frame before I commit to paint. And I think I mentioned as well that I'm going to replicate all the welds on the frame. So I'll do that after I got everything sealed up with primer on it. Then I'll come in and do those with epoxy. I'll show you when I get there. But I want to get everything sealed up because if I do the welds now, A, it's kind of hard to see when everything's shiny metal. And B, this surface is still not great. And these tubes, I need to body work them essentially to make them look nice. So that'll be easier when the epoxy's not on there. So I'll do all that. I'll get all the body work done first. Then I'll come in and do the welds. Then, final coat of primer and paint it. So yeah, you can see I've got like the support for that. There's a magnet at the front that holds the front of the cowl on. And it locates on these two here, and then there's two more on the engine. So I got those done, got, all the solder joints cleaned up for the most part. Like I say, I'll need some high build primer to get rid of some of the marks, so that's coming up. But like I say, next, before I do that, I want to get the engine fitted and basically do a dry assembly, like of all the little components, the shift linkage and the pedals and stuff like that, to make sure that they're good to go and they don't need any major adjustment after the fact. Oh, and the other thing I think I talked about before was adding some little bosses in here. So I've got these little spacers added here inside the frame. Hopefully that's focusing, or at least good enough for you to see. So got those in there, and then I shortened this. I milled a millimeter, same amount I added to here. I milled off the end of this so that it will now just slips in. It just slips in. There we go. Into there from the back. So it'll just go straight in. So now what that'll allow me to do is put the engine in, then put the chain on, then put this in, and then the wheel and everything else, the shocks, wheels, and everything. So that'll make, I'm anticipating that that'll make assembly a lot easier. You know, whereas the way they have in the instructions is to actually, when you bolt the frame together, which would have to be all painted, you capture the swing arm inside there with the chain on it. Then you put the engine in. So getting that engine in there with the chain and sprocket floating around, I think would be a bit of a challenge. So this will eliminate that challenge, so to speak. And it wasn't that hard to do. So yeah, getting there. That's where we're at with this. I just wanted to show you that before I got paint on here. Probably next time you see it, I might show you the dry assembly. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how things are going. I might end this episode there after the dry assembly, or we might end it after and then do the welds as a separate episode. We'll see. Anyways, that's it for this check-in. We'll see you in a little bit. All right, so there we have it. I think I'm going to call it a day on this episode. I've got the dry assembly all done up till the end of step 7, I think. Yeah, up to the end of step 7. We'll review that in a sec. So that's got us to this point here. Some of the parts are just sitting there, so they might fall off. Yeah, so engine in the frame. Tanks fitting, the rear, the seat, the cowl. I went ahead and put the rear hub together just to make sure the swing arm was correct and that was in line and it wasn't twisted or anything. So yeah, there is all that. I'm just gonna pop my tank off. It's a bit of a snug fit. I got a bit of tweaking on this still. It's a little tight on the frame, which I'm not going to make this removable. I was thinking about doing that, and I think I mentioned that at one time. I could put like a magnet in this, replace this screw with a magnet. And quite honestly, the way it fits, probably won't even need that. It clips on pretty good. But the reason I'm not going to do that is because you got the fuel petcocks here on the bottom. You got one on each side, and they got a fuel line that runs to the carbs. So I don't really want to be pulling that fuel line on and off. It just won't survive that, doing that too many times. So it's not worth it. With the cowl off and the tank still on, everything's pretty visible, so it's fine if it stays on. There's also the vent line. There's a vent fitting on the top of the tank that will go up under the cowl, up under the windshield or whatever. So there'd be 3 lines that you'd have to pop off in order to remove the fuel tank. So it's not practical to do that, so I'm not going to. So it'll be permanently mounted. And then the rear seat, I got it all fitting. I think we kind of looked at that last time, right? With cutting the back of the frame off. It's still going to fit, line up okay. The only thing here is obviously we're not going to have this mounting point, but I can... the seat mounts on pegs up at the front, and then the resin part still rests on the frame here, and there's 2 pins that go through the rubber into the frame. That's what these 2 lugs are for. So there's plenty that's holding this all on. So I'll build this up just like this, glue it all solid, and it'll be fine. So that's that. So the other thing I did, I think I talked about, let's see if we can see it, which I think you can. Obviously, I built a wiring harness for the coils, the battery, the regulator, the yellow wire sticking out, that'll go to the kill switch on the handlebar, on the left handlebar. Wiring harness comes down the side of the down tube, goes to the stator, and then a set of wires going to the points module. And then I got another wiring harness that goes over to the other side on the down tube, excuse me, to the fourth coil, which they don't give you. So I don't know how well you can see that. Let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. So I made that coil. I just you can see it there. I just turned it out of excuse me, aluminum tubing on my little lathe. Tried to match up as close as I could, you know, close enough to the other coil. So yeah, I've got that there. Batteries test fit. I've got all the linkage. You can see there. I got the rear brake pedal with its linkage. It's kind of a funky linkage that goes up to this to this interesting mechanism on the rear master cylinder. So when you push on this, it will pull this rod down, and then this linkage pivots on a pivot point here and pushes in on the master cylinder. So quite a funky little design there. Very unusual. So that's all on, and the reason I wanted to do all that now before I had the frame painted was, you know, getting these linkages all lined up and bent and test fit when everything else is done. It can be a bit of a pain when everything else is painted. So, and I usually get frustrated if I leave it till the end. So, and then the shift linkage on this side is all installed, bent correctly, so it fits there. Yeah, and the rear hub, like I say, that's in there. I didn't obviously build the wheel yet. It's just all temporary assembly. So that's it for now. I think I have everything, you know, fitting quite well. It needs to fit right now. So it's just a matter of taking this all apart again, and painting all the parts, and then final assembly. But I'm not going to do that quite yet. The next step, I'm going to go ahead and carry on with sort of the bare metal assembly. I want to get, because there's a few more things that go on here. Like, well, it doesn't matter which side we look at. You know, the exhaust pipes, I need to get them built and fit to make sure that everything fits fine there. So 2 pipes on this, obviously it's a twin, so, you know, one goes from here. This is the high pipe, it mounts to the frame there. And then there's a low pipe for the front that goes from the front cylinder head down there and mounts to the frame there. So I want to get those built and then test fit before I start finishing the frame, just in case anything needs tweaking or whatever. So they're important to get done. And then probably less important is the front end. But I might as well, because the pipes, they're multi-piece, so there'll be some soldering involved there. The forks are multi-piece as well that need to be soldered together. So I might as well just carry on building up those sub-assemblies, test fitting them on the frame. More or less have most of the parts ready to go, and then I'll start doing paint and assembly. So that is the plan. And so the next episode will probably start off kind of where we left off right here with this, and carry on with some of the other sub-assemblies, some more test fitting, a bit of soldering in that one coming up. I might make a breakout video for soldering out of that one. We'll see, because there's some pretty decent soldering needs to be done there. So yeah, lots to come on this, but making lots of progress. You know, despite the fact this doesn't have any paint on it, we're a long ways there. You know, especially on all the little parts. Getting paint on them is the quickest part of the process, really. So we're getting there. I got a bit of work to do on the shocks too. I didn't really talk about them here. They're okay. I think I might put a bit of work on them, flatten, like flat grind the springs, which might mean that I need to modify the length of the shocks because it shortens the springs when you flat grind them. So anyways, lots of work to do, but that will be a wrap for this episode. So once again, I want to thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying the content, and you're looking forward to more videos. And if you are, please subscribe. It helps out immensely, and give me a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell if you want to know when I launch new videos. So until next time, take care. Bye-bye.